and a lot of books in here. You have reached Steele Political Review. I'm your man, Steele, and today I'll be reviewing Transformers Legacy Evolution Shrapnel. Transformers Legacy Evolution Shrapnel. But before I get to the actual review, I just want to go over some of the spectacular details on this packaging. Up front here, the display window showing you both the figure and all of his accessories inside. In the corner here, you see the 8+, which is the age requirement for this figure. In the other corner here, you have the Takara Tommy Transformers Generations logo. Alongside here, it says Transformers. In the middle here, you have the beautiful illustration of Shrapnel in his insect mode. Then over here, you have the Decepticon symbol along with Shrapnel. Below all that, it says Transformers Legacy Evolution. Then over here, the Hasbro emblem. Then over here, it says that it is a deluxe class figure. Then over here, it also says that it's plastic-free packaging. On the side of the package here, you see a couple profile pictures of Shrapnel in his robot mode. Then on the top of the package here, you see a QR code. And if you scan this QR code online, it takes you right to a website where you can read Shrapnel's tech spec. Then on the other side of the packaging here, you have this beautiful montage of all the Transformers from Evolution, starting with Breakdown. Below that, you have Leo Prime. Over here, you have Optimus Prime. Then you have Tarn. Over here, you have Needle Nose. Then you have Crosscut. Over here, you have the Dinobots. Then over here, you have the Junkions. And over here, again, it says it is plastic-free packaging. Then on the back of the packaging here, you have all of the figures' features, such as Shrapnel in his robot mode and Shrapnel in his insect mode. Transformers Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Shrapnel. Shrapnel was released on March 23rd, 2023 with the suggested retail price of $24.99, and he's available at all major retailers. Shrapnel was released along with the other Transformers Legacy Evolution Deluxe Class Wave 2 figures, Crashbar, Crosscut, and Animated Universe Prowl. Shrapnel is a G1 inspired figure that converts into a Stag Beetle mode in 11 steps. His accessories include his 3 blasters and instructions. Shrapnel stands 6.5 inches tall, and he is meant for fans ages 8 and up. Next, I'm going to go ahead and convert Shrapnel from his robot mode all the way to his Stag Beetle mode. But the first thing you always want to do before you transform any of your Transformers, you want to remove all the weapons and accessories. I'm going to take his blast and put it off to the side. Because the first step of the transformation, you have the pieces right here and right here. And bottom of those pieces, you have a tab right there and right there. Top of his chest, you have a little porthole right there and right there. Do you want to go ahead and slide these pieces right over his face just like that and tab it right into place. Do that to the other side, grab this piece, swing it over, tab it right into place just like that. Now for step 2. Then I want you to go and take these toe pieces right here and right here. I want you to bring them down just like that. And just like that. Step 3. You want to go and take Shrapnel. Take this top piece right here. What you want to do is you want to go and rotate that all the way around. Just like that. Step 4. You have these 2 compartments at the front of the leg right here and right here. You want to go flip those open just like that. Do that to the other side, to that compartment. Flip it open just like that. Step 5. You want to go take these feet now. You want to collapse into the thigh. Just like that. Do the other side. Take that thigh. Collapse it right into the leg. Just like that. Step 6. You want to go and take these leg pieces now. You want to snap them together. Just like that. For step 7. You want to go and flip Shrapnel over. You want to bring these leg pieces in. Just like that. Step 8. You want to go and take Shrapnel. You have these fists right there and right there. You want to go and take these fists and flip them right into the form. Just like that. Do that to the other side. To that fist. Flip it right into form. Just like that. Step number 9. On the inside of the forearm, you'll see a couple of pegs. Right there, right there, and right there. On the side of Shrapnel's leg, you'll see a couple portholes right there, right there, and right there. you go ahead and take that arm, you peg it right into place just like that. I'm gonna do that to the other side. Take that arm, peg it right into place just like that. Number 10. We're gonna go flip shrapnel over. You got these two pieces right here and right here, and it's supposed to be up an appendage. There's a hinge joint right there and right there. You want to flip those pieces out just like that, and just like that. For shrapnel's 11th and final step, get these two antennas right here and right here. Just want to bring them in just like that. Good, to the other side, bring the antenna in just like that, and now your shrapnel in its full stag beetle mode. Now that I have shrapnel in his stag beetle mode and on my display table, just want to go over some of his play features and accessories. According to the instructions, there is a way to arm shrapnel while he's in his stag beetle mode. You do that by grabbing this blaster right here. This is his trademark blaster you've seen both in the animated series and the movie. Bottom of that blaster you have a purple 5mm peg. Well, on shrapnel's back here you have two 5mm portholes. You choose either one, you just plug that blaster right in that porthole, and now you have shrapnel armed with his blaster while he's in his stag beetle mode. And also, he comes with two purple blasters, this one and this one. And of course, the bottom of these blasters you have a 5mm peg. At the bottom of shrapnel you have two 5mm portholes right there and right there. All you're going to do is plug these blasters right into those pegs just like that. Do that to the other side, you have that peg hole right there. That peg and just plug it in just like that, and now you have shrapnel armed while he's in the stag beetle mode. But like I said in many other reviews that I've done in the past, I'm not a big fan of storing my weapons while they're in their alt modes. An alt mode is their the alternate modes. So I'm going to pull this blaster off, but I am not going to pull off these purple blasters because I feel these purple blasters do fit in on shrapnel in his insect mode, and I say that because if you own the original Generation 1 shrapnel, which I do have on hand, do a side-by-side comparison, you look at the bottom of the fist, and this sticker label, as you can see, is kind of like coming off. I'm not sure why. It's been in storage for a long time. But he's got this little thing protruding from his forearm right here, and it looks like a blaster. And I have a feeling that the reason they did that, which is a great nod to the original Generation 1 version of shrapnel, where he had that like little extension coming out of his arm like that in insect mode, and it carried on into the new Legacy Evolution version of Shrapnel, which I think is really cool. I'm glad that they do that with the more modern line of the Transformers. They do like these little nods to little Easter eggs to us older school fans, and I kind of saw that, and I was like, not being a big fan of storing weapons, but this one makes sense because it is a nod to the original Generation 1 version of Shrapnel. I'm going to put them side by side. You can see what it looked like side by side, and I have to give this one to the Generation 1 version of Shrapnel only because you got the cool metallic paint right here where it shines. Gives it that luster. You got this cockpit right here that opens up. And if you guys know from other reviews that some of these Transformers were ported over from Japan from a toy line called Diaclone, and Diaclones were little pilots that manned these robots. Not like in the US where when they were ported over by Hasbro and licensed and marketed as Transformers, they were sentient beings. In Japan they weren't. They were manned by pilots. So you had little pilots, and this is one of the compartments they went in. And that was a big mystery as a kid, like why do certain Transformers have compartments, and that's the reason why. Unfortunately, the compartment here doesn't open, but they still molded it out of like a translucent yellow plastic, and they put like a little silver piece of plastic underneath it to kind of give it that luster, kind of that cool look. But when you compare the two insects together, I would say that the Generation 1 is more proportioned. This one's kind of big and bulky, and it's kind of cool. It's cool. It's still a cool figure for what it is, and it fits the whole new scale with the War for Cybertron Studio Series and Legacy figures. But I also have the Power of the Prime Shrapnel right here, but he was called Shrapnel. And another piece of good piece of trivia is when Shrapnel was re-released in I think the early 2000s during the 20th anniversary, he was actually called a different name. I think it was Sharpshot, if I'm not mistaken. But if I'm incorrect, just leave me a comment in the comment below and with the real name. But I think it was Scrapshot, I believe. But you had Shrapnel, Scrapshot, Shrapnel, but now it's back to Shrapnel again, which I'm glad, because I thought the reason they They changed the name to Shrapnel was because Shrapnel had some sort of war tie-ins to what was going on in the Middle East. But no, it's back to Shrapnel again. But let me go and rotate this around and get them all on camera so you guys could see all the similarities and differences, from different generations. Being that this one is the more recent one. And I'm not a big fan of the Power of the Prime version. It was kind of my definitive one because he looks excellent in robot mode. But in insect mode, let me go and pull him out. I mean, he's a cool looking insect, but I'm more of a G1 purist. So to me, Shrapnel should look like this. Any version of it, Shrapnel in insect mode. And they did kind of pull it off with Legacy. It would not be my definitive Shrapnel in insect mode, but it would be my definitive Shrapnel in robot mode, which I'll get in a moment. Now that I have Shrapnel in his robot mode and on my display table, I once again want to go over some of his play features and accessories, first by talking about this blaster. And this is the very same blaster that appears on the animated series and in the movie. Order the arm Shrapnel with this blaster, but on this blaster right here you have a 5mm peg. Each one of his fists has a 5mm porthole. You just plug this blaster in either one of his fists, and now you have Shrapnel armed with his blaster. And as I mentioned earlier on, he comes with these two purple blasters. At the bottom of these purple blasters, you have 5mm pegs. Order the arm Shrapnel in his robot mode, you turn him around, and back of his form, you have 5mm portholes right there and right there. Take this blaster with the barrel facing down, and you plug it right in those forms just like this, and just like that. And now you have Shrapnel armed with all three of his blasters. And as many of you may know from my previous reviews, I'm not a big fan of storing weapons on my Transformers while they're in a robot mode or in their ulterior modes. But with Shrapnel it does make sense, because if I bring in my Generation 1 version of Shrapnel, back of his forearm, he has a permanent molded blaster in the back of it. I do believe that they gave you that option to do that with this version of Shrapnel as kind of a nod to the Generation 1 toy, which is really, really cool, because if you want to display Shrapnel as he appeared in a Generation 1 toy, you had that option. But me, let me put this Shrapnel off to the side, I prefer to display my Transformers as they appear on both the animated series or in the movie. So I'm probably going to unpeg these, put them off to the side. But before I do that, according to the instructions, there's a way to combine all three of his blasters to form a super weapon. You take the first silver blaster right here. In the back of that silver blaster, you have a 5mm porthole. You grab one of the purple blasters, and the end of the purple blaster here on the barrel, 5mm peg. You plug that in the back of that silver blaster, just like that. And you take that silver blaster, you turn it over, and the bottom of that silver blaster, you have a 5mm porthole. You grab the other purple blaster, you take the handle, you plug it right into that porthole, and now you have Shrapnel's rifle. You can arm them by pegging the rifle in that peg and that peg into the fist. So I'm going to go ahead and peg it in just like that, and just like that. And there's enough articulation where Shrapnel can move around and arm himself with this blaster. And now I am armed with this rifle. But I'm not a big fan of this rifle, and I do feel that's just an additional play feature to appeal, to the kiddos, which we all know that these toy lines will not survive on collectors alone. Because us collectors, we do spend a lot of money on these toy lines. But in order for a toy line to thrive, they need to appeal to the kiddies, and that's the extra incentive for for kiddies to get in these toy lines. Just throw extra play features and whistles, bells and whistles, and you boost your sales. I want to go ahead and take this blaster apart and put it back in Shrapnel's fist, because I want to go ahead and do a side-by-side comparison with him and the Generation 1 version of Shrapnel. And I felt the Generation 1 Shrapnel excelled over the Legacy Shrapnel in insect mode. I mean, the proportion was nicer. I mean, the metallic silver here is a nice touch. But I have to give the robot mode to Legacy version only because the proportion is nicer. And I'm a firm believer that Takara Tommy and Hasbro engineered the insect mode or the alt modes from the robot modes from a lot of their Legacy, War for Cybertron, or Studio Series figures. So the alt mode or the insect mode sacrificed to make the robot mode be very faithful to animate them out from the cartoon series, and that's why you see the difference with how great the robot mode is as opposed to how blocky and how weird the insect mode look. But that's I mean, the robot mode for the Generation 1 is great. I mean, you got the die-cast metal for the chest here. You got the metal, you know, the metal looking luster, silver plastic here, there, and for the blaster. So it does have its pluses, but you know, it had Takara or Hasbro molded this in like a silver plastic, it would have been popping. It would have been a great figure. But nonetheless, I'm very happy with the Legacy version. And you see that as I mentioned earlier on, you had a little cockpit that flips out, and they went ahead and they molded the chest out of a yellow translucent plastic, but behind it they put like a silver plastic behind it to kind of give it that pop. But nonetheless, this figure is fantastic. I'm going to put the Generation 1 off to the side. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Titan's Returns version of Shrapnel, who was called Shrapnel because they lost the rights to that name around the time this figure was released. And this one was my definitive Shrapnel, up until this one, being released, because there's a huge gap between Generation 1 and Legacy. I mean, almost 40 years, right? And this one kind of filled the middle up a little bit, and they released it in a couple of different toy lines. I know they released all 3 Insecticons, and they kept them at that scale. And as you can see, now that I have my Generation 1 finally out side by side next to the Titan's Return version, the scale the same height. I never would have realized that and would have pictured that in my head, because I always pictured this one to be a little bit, like bigger than this version, but they're the same size, which is kind of crazy to me. And I'm glad that they scaled up this version of Shrapnel, because by the time it got from Shrapnel to Scrapnel to Shrapnel again, and I think his name was Sharp Shot at one point in time when they released him in the early 2000s. But they finally got the name back. But it's just a weird transition to see, the scale differences. And I'm glad they went with scale difference for this version of Shrapnel, only because it kind of falls in line with the War for Cybertron Studio Series Legacy figures. They all kind of like fall in line with each other. And I just want to go rotate them around so you guys see all the similarities and differences between all 3 figures. I mean, with this figure was they kind of went off the path with this figure, the transformation and everything, because the transformation for the Generation 1 version and the Legacy version are very similar. Besides a few engineering differences, like instead of collapsing the thigh into the leg here, you did the Combiner Wars thing where a panel opens up and you collapse the thigh into the leg, folding it in instead of sliding it up. Because over time, I've seen Shrapnels that just kind of like will collapse because the leg piece right here is loose enough where it won't hold up the figure anymore. I think this engineering difference is a game changer for this figure. But I'm gonna go ahead and move this off to the side. And speaking of which, with Generation 1 you had all 3 Insecticons, and even with that Titan's Return, I actually had Kickback and Bombshell in that same scale. Well, with Legacy, they are released, have released all 3 Insecticons, and so far I do have all 3, but I have Kickback and Shrapnel both loose right now. And I did a review on Kickback earlier, and you can check that out in an early review, and it kind of goes a little bit far back. But in the time difference between the release of these 2 figures, you can see that the different colored purple plastics, changed. And with the wings here, because the original Kickback, he had the metallic silver too for the wings, right? He had the same color scheme as the other. They kind of stayed very consistent with all 3 Insecticons. Well, where here, there's such a big gap between the figures. You see the difference in the yellows and the purples. And with the wings should have been molded out of a silver plastic. And I hope they re-release Kickback where he matches more with Bombshell and Shrapnel, because Bombshell and Shrapnel were released close enough where they kind of match each other a little bit better. Kickback was released over a year ago, almost 2 years ago. So like there's a huge difference between the releases of each figures. But both the figures still look great. They still scale, very nicely with each other, and they look really great together. And it would be nice, once I review Bombshell, to have all 3 Insecticons side by side where I could rotate them and just have the whole set complete. Because right now, a lot of the subgroups, I'm completing a lot of subgroups, like with the Dinobots and with the Insecticons now. But I have to say, overall, this is my new definitive Shrapnel. I'm very happy with him, and I would highly recommend him. But if you guys found any of the information in this review valuable, please like and share this video. Also, if you found any of the information valuable, please subscribe to this channel and ring the bell to be notified of any future videos. I want to thank you guys for watching Rad Steele's Awesome Toy Collector Review. I'll check you guys out next time.